EZA Fizz Turles is here, and he is a real one. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We got another Dokkan Battle video for you here today. We have the EZA details for the Fizz Turles. And of course, he's not alone here. Coming along with him, as should be no surprise as they were on the Tech Turles' banner, we have the sub-EZAs for the DAIZ and CACAO and Amond and Raisin. So in this video, we are going to break down everything you need to know about this EZA. We'll break down his kit in full, help you understand what's going on with him. We'll talk a little bit about some CALCS, tentative CALCS for what he's going to be looking like in game, and discuss briefly some teams and partners you might consider running with this EZA character. So let's start with the kit for the Fizz Turles. We have Space Traveling Warriors or Pure Saiyans, category Key 3, HP attack defense 170% with an additional 30% to Planetary Destruction or Low Class Warrior. No changes to the leader skill, pretty much exactly what you expect for the 200% leaders. And honestly, as a 200% leader, if you are lacking the metal cooler, it is still a great lead to build majority of the team you would need to run a friend metal cooler. With that said, all right, let's take a look at what he's doing. So he activates an entrance animation when there is a Goku's family or Pure Saiyan's enemy, or enemy whose name includes Kid Gohan at the start of the character's attacking turn. This already is a huge buff to the character, previously being limited to Goku's family or Kid Gohan. Opening it up to Pure Saiyans allows him to buff his team with that entrance passive, no matter which enemies you are fighting. So very, very helpful. Granted, you're still limited to Pure Saiyans, but that's a good majority of fights we've been having this year, right? So very, very helpful. Basic effects include attack defense 200%, damage reduction rate 20%, and when HP is 50% or more, an additional 100% attack and 150% defense. Launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack. When attacking with 12 or more ki, he has 150% attack and an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack. So he's got two 70% chances to do an additional super attack. And when you fall below 50% or less, he does have an additional 50 chance to do a guaranteed super attack. Now, once only, he has an additional 400% attack and defense 100%. This is really nice because, as you're going to see, he is a stacking character. So this essentially is designed to combat that penalty that stacking characters tend to have on their attack and defense. It'll help you just kind of get him through that initial first turn where he needs to build up. For every super attack performed, he gets an additional key 3 up to 9, damage reduction rate up to 30%, and an additional defense 80% up to 240, right? So having that additional attack and defense from that 12 or more key does help him on that first turn. After performing 6 attacks in battle, he has a permanent effective against all types and a guaranteed additional super attack. He has a 70% damage reduction rate before attacking. So essentially that means on his first turn, with Space Traveling Warriors ally attacking in the same turn, he has 95% damage. Is it 95? No, I might be counting that wrong. 20%. Oh, he has 100% damage reduction on that opening turn before attacking. Pretty awesome. Okay, so that does mean that he's going to be, or well, I guess it has to be built up, right? So before attacking on that first turn, he's going to have 10, 70, 20, yeah, 100%. He's got 100%. Okay, so that's really cool. So that's really does help you build him up a lot easier and a lot quicker. They fixed a lot of his major problems because he did take a while to kind of get going. Now, as we talked about, he is a stacking character, so on his super attack effect, he is greatly raising attack permanently and raising defense for the turn while causing immense damage to the enemy and recovering 6% HP. So this combined with the metal coolers healing with that with the Fizz orbs makes it really easy to manage your HP on this team, which is really good for you know, just keeping your HP up, especially in some of these longer fights or some of these more difficult fights, especially when you're knowing like the Triku fight where you have to deal with AoEs. It's kind of nice to have this ability to heal up should one of the wrong characters take an AoE super. So pretty cool ability there. Now his active skill, because those don't change on EZA, same as it was before, as long as there's a Goku's enemy or enemy whose name includes Gohan from the 3rd turn or starting from the 6th turn, all right, greatly raises attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage. Pretty standard stuff for an active skill, so don't expect too much from it. As a stacking character, he's going to need to build up a little bit before getting there. So now with that said, let's take a look at the banner units here. I'm actually really interested in seeing these. So let's start with the Amon and Raisin, because they were kind of the staple of his team prior. So they are attack defense 250%, planetary destruction category allies key 2, attack defense 40%, plus an additional key 1, 30% defense, and an additional critical hit for characters who are on the Space Traveling Warriors. Yes, thank you. That is the best thing they could have given him. I've been complaining, like, my one beef with this Space Traveling Warriors team is so many characters just they feel like they just need that little bit extra crit. So giving critical hit support is very nice. I love it. So very nice. For 1 turn from their entry turn, they have an additional 25% damage reduction rate. As a first attack during the turn, they have guard, damage reduction rate 20%. So that's a 55% damage reduction on their first turn in slot 1 with an additional super attack with 4 more key spheres obtained. Interesting that they added the 4 more key spheres portion. As a second or third attacker in the turn, they have an additional attack 200%, launches an additional super attack, guards all attack and damage reduction rate 10% with 4 or more key spheres obtained. When attacking, 150% attack, and whenever guard is activated, they get an additional attack and defense 50% up to 200%. And again, that guard is only activated in that first turn. So, and it's a permanent buff, right? So essentially what you're going to want to do is put them in slot 1, turn 1, let them build up, while Turles gets his additional attacks off to get himself built up. And then you swap places, possibly pushing them into the 2nd or 3rd slot, as your big bad boss's characters are primarily going to be handling slots 1 and slots 2. So yeah, I kind of get where they're going with that. When there's another planetary destruction ally attacking in the same turn, they have an additional damage reduction rate 20%, an additional damage reduction rate 20% when there's another Space Traveling Warriors ally attacking in the same turn. So interesting. So I mean, guard plus, what is that, 40% damage reduction, plus in the first slot an additional, so 60% and guard. Honestly, that's not that bad. We'd have to be able to see what their defense is going to be like, but raising defense for 4, honestly, they'll probably be okay maintaining in slot 1, to be quite honest. Although being in slot 2 and 3 gives that additional, well, I guess they would still have guard in slot 2 or 3 as well, as long as you get your 4 key spheres. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think what we're seeing with these guys, combined with the Fizz Cooler and the options that Metal Cooler has, along with the Tech Turles, there's a lot of flexibility in this team. I like it. I like it. This is pretty good. Okay. So with that, let's take a look at the CACAO and DAIZ. So they are key 3, attack defense 250%, launches an additional attack that's a great chance to become a super attack, changes STR to rainbow. That's very nice. That helps Tech Turles a lot. I was talking about how one of these guys needed a rainbow orb change, so perfect. For 1 turn from his entry turn, he launches an additional super attack, chance of evading enemies attacks 10% per Space Traveling Warriors or Terrifying Conquerors ally attacking in the same turn, depending on which has more members, which if you're on Cooler team, that's all members. 200% defense, chance to perform a critical hit, and chance of evading enemies attack 10%. So essentially 30% on a full rotation, right? So not bad. As a 2nd or 3rd attacker in the turn, they get an additional 200% attack, high chance of performing a critical hit, and a high chance of evading enemies attack. So you combine that with the additional 30 and the additional 10 for his one turn. So that's 80% dodge in slot 3 or 2 on the first turn. not bad. For every super attack performed, attack defense 250 up to 200%. And when there's another Space Traveling Warriors category ally attacking the same turn, he gets an additional super attack. Plus, all allies key 2 attack defense 30% for 2 turns when there's another planetary destruction ally attacking the same turn. So I really like that. All right, so they have floating 2-turn support. Really nice, right? There's actually now quite a few 2-turn supports now floating throughout Turles and Cooler's team. So this team is going to be cooking. This team is going to be cooking hard. There's just so much support flowing through it. Raising attack for 4 turns, causing immense damage or supreme damage with great chance of stunning the enemy. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, I like it. Both of them are really good. You actually have a reason to run these guys. They were, I wouldn't say they were unrunnable, but with the Turles' team, you pretty much didn't have a reason to run them. They weren't that good before, but now they're a solid option, right? They are essentially the Jason Birder for the Space Traveling Warriors team. Really great options. I like them. They're pretty good. So with all of that said, right, we are working with some really, really good support units and EZA support units for the Turles team and the Metal Cooler team. So now let's talk stats, right? So I got this little calculator here pulled up for you guys. Hopefully you guys can find some interest in this. I'll link it in the description down below if it helps. This was shared to me on our Discord, so you're welcome to join Discord. Links in the description down below. But here's what we're looking at, right? So if we apply all of the buffs throughout his passive, right, his phase 1 passives, his phase 2 passives, link skills, we'll consider Turles' domain for the additional 25%, which is not counting the active skill turn, but just with the domain up, because this will essentially be his second turn, right? Well, actually, let's do this. Well, let's remove the domain for now. So 0. Let's put 0 here without the domain. There we go. All right. So with a 163 key multiplier for the key, or actually no, he should 12 key multiplier. Sorry, I need to change that. 12 key multiplier. This is very 150%. Shows what this should be at. 150%, right? Since he's going to have 12 key as a TUR. SA multiplier 630% for 15 super attacks, right? And he is greatly raising, so he gets a buff of 50%. He has a stack of 50%, so we're going to assume he's got 1 stack. So essentially at the start of his second attacking turn, let's say he got 3 supers, right? So that's going to be 150%, right? This is what he's looking at here at the end of his first turn. So there's no additional buff to his defense on the super attack. Because he's only raising for the 1 turn, and then we'll assume rainbow for this. So this is essentially what we're going to be looking at. Like that attack stat's going to be somewhere around 40 million, 50 million with crits, of course, right? This will continue to get higher and higher every turn with every super attack he does. Defense seems a little low, but consider, right, that this is he's still got, you know, the 50% damage reduction here, plus all the additional support, right? All of that additional support isn't factored in here. We're only factoring his own support and his own passives, right? If we wanted to toss in other support, right, we're adding in another 100 to almost 200% extra in stats, depending on who's on rotation. So, right, so let's say we want to toss in the Turles turn with the domain right here, right? So let's toss that in, right? So we got the 25%, right? That bumps him up to 2.4 million, right? That domain makes a huge difference. And now let's say we want to add extra support, right? So let's add Cooler's 50% support. We'll add Metal Cooler's, how much does Metal Cooler give? Actually, let's pull that up real quick. let's add metal coolers, STR orb support. So let's say we get that, right? So STR orb is 50%. So we'll get 50% from fizz cooler. We'll get 50% from these guys, and then because let's say that they're on rotation, giving big bad bosses, right? So and this is going to go to the phase 1, right? So we'll go to, what is that? So we got 50% for the 2 coolers. We've got an additional, right? So let's say these guys were on the turn before, so they're giving, how much are they giving? 30% for 2 turns, so 130%. Let's say that yeah, and then DAIZ and CACAO's passive, right? So where's that at? How much are they giving? Or not DAIZ and CACAO, I'm in Raisin. 40% attack and defense. So 40%. So 170% attack and 100 and an additional 30% defense. So what is that? $170%. Yeah. Okay. So what is that? 440% and another 170 here puts us at what is that? 5. It was 140. What was that? 350. What was that? 490. All right, so now here's what we're looking at here. So that makes a huge difference. Look how much difference the support makes here. Huge difference. And again, you don't have, he's got effective against all types, so you don't have to worry too much about the crits, right, after a certain amount. And then of course this is going to keep stacking up, right? This is going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So honestly, not the perfect calculations, right? Take this with a grain of salt. I'm still trying to understand fully how this calculator works, but tentatively looks pretty good, so I'm really excited about this. Other than that, we have some upcoming events. We have this new Test of Luck event. We have some support memory boosts and the next set of Dokkan Frontier nodes. I'm assuming this is probably similar to this event here that we had for the 11th anniversary, right? But same thing, right? We're gonna get those Test of Luck keys that we'll probably be able to use to grab a chance at extra dragon stones via the Dragon Wars. Should be pretty cool. All of this is leading up into Tanabata, of course, TDC. So looking pretty good. Great little way to send off the last celebration before TDC. So guys, that is it for our video. That is everything that is coming up this week for Dokkan Battle. That is the details for the PHY TURLES. Hopefully you guys found this guide helpful, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to the PHY TURLES' EZA. If you guys like the video, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know what can you what do you think of the PHY TURLES' EZA? What do you think of his banner units? And as a quick update for the week to come, we have a special event on Saturday for the channel. We are reviving the Pokemon Let's Play, right? We're gonna finish that off. We're bringing it back for the summertime. We left off on a cliffhanger here, so we got to finish that up. So hopefully you guys are willing to come in. Stay tuned for all that's coming this week on the channel and in Dokkan Battle. So guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and aloha.